Welcome to episode number 35 of Photoshop Party. Wow. This is going on way too long. We need to get this fixed right away. Lockdown needs to be over with. Okay. Today we are lucky to have some guy named Larry Skibisky who knows a little bit about NIK Filters and is going to enlighten us with everything he knows in 30 seconds or less. Okay, 20 seconds or less, because that's how long it's going to take him.
Well, good luck with
that. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Larry, and we're going to have some fun with this.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here. A good crowd today, and everybody's kind of on lockdown, staying out of the smoke. At least I am. I'm sure it's a lot worse up north, I've heard, but I'm down in Newbury Park, Thousand Oaks area, so it's not too bad here, but it looks like a foggy day almost outside. It's kind of weird. The sun has an orange glow on the color if you look at the ground and stuff. So if you're going out and doing any photography, you have to do a color balance for sure. So today I'm going to, many of you have seen me do NIK stuff in the past, and so you're pretty much of it. Is anybody completely unfamiliar with NIK? Put your hand up if you have no clue what I'm talking about when I say NIK. Okay, Norman doesn't know. He's the only one. Okay, so Norman, try to keep up. It's good. A lot of people have already been somewhat familiarized with it. I've done workshops up and down the state at some of the affiliates. So some people have done my all-day thing, and I've done one more of these Zooms, and I think Michael did a Zoom on NIK also. So anyway, the NIK software, basically in a nutshell, is a suite of several different filter effects type things that you can apply to images. I've been using them for probably 12, 13 years or so, and I can honestly say that almost every image that I've ever entered in competition or edited, period, is had some part of the NIK filters applied to the image, and it's like my go-to. There's a lot of other ways of doing things, of course. You can do anything in NIK inside Photoshop if you want to take the time and learn all the ins and outs of doing so, but why bother? They make life simple for us. There's a lot of people use Topaz. There's a lot of things that are crossover between Topaz and NIK, but when it comes down to it, there's really nothing that has all the capabilities that you have within the NIK software collection. And everybody kind of knows the history of that throughout the years here. DxO is the company that now owns it. They're a French company, and they've done a marvelous job of so far of redoing some of the effects themselves, adding different things to it, and keeping up with different versions of Photoshop and Lightroom to accommodate those plugins so that we can continue to use them. So without further ado, I'm going to start a screen here, hopefully. So start, no, that's not it. Screen share. That's not what I want. Okay, hold on. Photoshop, okay.
Yay.
Everybody seeing my Photoshop screen there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of the let me just see a raise of hands again. Who has installed the newest and greatest version 3 of the NIK collection? Okay, so a few of you, but not all of you. I'll just say right up front, if you haven't done it, do it. It's worth the $59. There's several things about it that are different, and I'll go over some of those. But it's worth the upgrade. I've had several people call me and ask about that, and I do highly recommend that you upgrade to this latest version and enjoy the various things that they've added in there. So what I've got here, it looks like my images are loading really slowly because I'm sharing my screen. I don't know why. Oh, if I click on it, it loads quicker. Look at that. Why is that, Mike?
Reminds me of the old days. Zoom and Photoshop don't like to play together.
Wow, apparently. So I have to click on the image and make it appear here. Okay, all right. So anyway, that's the first image, but we're not going to deal with that quite yet. So what I've got here is, this is called the NIK Collection Selective Tool. And there's a lot of changes that they've incorporated this. If you remember, the old one was a black and white kind of a screen here with the white background with just regular black text. And it really didn't do much. There were some things about it that, well, it didn't do much. So I'm going to go over some of the changes here that they've made to this NIK Selective Tool. I've got a giant cursor here. Everybody see my giant cursor? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you the NIK Selective Tool. You can just drag this around. Some of the other things in Photoshop, for instance, I'll just open up the history palette here, and you can't just drag it around without holding the Option key to drag it around in the title bar up there. See, I'm holding the Option key and then dragging. I'm going to load it back into where I keep it on the side here. So the NIK Collection Tool, you can still drag that around, do whatever you want with it. So you can place it wherever you want on your screen, move it around, or right here, there's a little tiny thing here. I'm not sure what it is because it's so small I can't see it without getting a magnifying glass. But here on the title bar, there's three things. There's an X, a minus, and then whatever this thing is going vertically here. So if you click on the vertical thing here, and it's hard for me to get my cursor right on it because it's so big. There it goes. Nope, that didn't do it. Okay.
You started a filter.
I started a filter. See, my cursor's so big that I couldn't get it right on there. Let me try it again. Okay, so if you click on that, there it goes. Okay, so it minimizes it, makes it real narrow. You can still drag it around, put it wherever you want. So if you want it big again, you have to click on that little thing again and make it big again. If you don't want to see this thing up here at all, you can click on the minus sign. When you click on that, you see, there it goes. Where did it go? Okay, so what it does, it puts it down in the lower left-hand corner here, which is very inconvenient for me. I don't like that at all. But if you click on it without bringing up my little genie effect. Okay, come on. Sorry about that. I can't drag it from there, right? Yeah, I can drag it. Okay, so I get it out of the way. So I can click on that thing there, and it brings it back. If you don't want to see it at all, you can click on the X and make it go bye-bye. It's gone. It's nowhere on the screen to be had. So now what do? Well, you can go over here to File, down to Automate, and go down to NIK Selective Tool, and it's called NIK Selective Tool 2 now. So if you click on that, it brings it back. So there it is to use. So that's how to move the screen around and get rid of it if you want, and how to navigate it. So what I'm going to do next is show you that down here in the lower right is a help thing. It's a little question mark in a circle. And if you click on that, it's pretty cool. I'm going to click on it one time here. And what it does, it opens up a website, and everything you want to know about NIK is here. You can scroll down. Everything you want to know about it is in here. You can type in a search. You can do whatever you want. It's got an introduction. So all this stuff is very handy, right, with just clicking that little question mark down there. So the other thing that's on here is this, I don't know, I'll call it a wheel. And if you click on that, what it does, it brings up a preference box. And in this preference box, you've got some choices. The first one is Open NIK Selective Tool automatically on launch. That's probably good to have checked there for me because I use it all the time. If you don't use it all the time and you don't want that selective tool on your screen, then you can uncheck that little box here, and then it won't show up the next time you launch Photoshop. Next one is under Filters. Apply Filter to, and what you have two choices. You got Image Composite or the Active Layer. If you have Active Layer checked, It just will apply that filter to that layer, and then that layer is gone as far as doing any further editing on it. The filter has been applied to it. So I don't do that. I do image composite. What it does when you launch a filter in NIK, it will make a composite, like a stamp layer, and use that stamped layer of all your open layers that you have the eyeball open on your layers rather, and it'll make that what it applies the filter to. So I usually use that, because then if you don't like it after all, or you want to change the blend mode or the opacity of that NIK filter, you can do so right on an individual layer that it is applied it to. Apply brush effect. So in each one of the modules here on in the NIK collection, you have a choice of apply to the image. You can brush the image or cancel, and we'll look at that later. It's down the lower right-hand corner of the filter window. So I have that to apply to brush effect to separate layer also. Okay. Down here, the last one, apply the filters, recipes, and last edit. Now this one, we're going to go over a little bit more here, but right now I've got it checked for apply in Photoshop. The other one is apply in NIK collection. So I'm going to demonstrate here apply in Photoshop initially, and then we'll go on from there. So I'm going to leave it checked, apply in Photoshop. That's not how I normally do it. I normally have apply in NIK collection, but I will show you the difference there. This is something that's new. So also in this NIK selective tool window, you've got on the right-hand side here, you've got under Define, Viveza, HDR effects, Color effects, analog, and sober effects only, you've got these little twirly down arrow things. And what this does, and I'll just use color effects as an example here. When you click that, it opens up this window here below color effects. And you'll see the last edit, which is a new part of this selective tool, and we'll go over that. Now there's that image coming in. Look at that. If I drag around it, it'll load it quicker. And then you've got filters, and those are your filters that, and I'll show you later how to put a filter in. I'm sorry, this is recipes. So the default is filters, right? Yeah. So filters, and it'll show the different filters that I have as my favorites selected within Color Effects Pro. And you can apply any one of these filters on here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get this window out of the way. And look at my background. Okay, that's my background layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the detail extractor to the whole filter here, to the whole image. So I'm going to click that, and because I had apply in Photoshop, it made a composite of all my layers here, and it applied that detail extractor. Well, it's actually still loading down the lower left-hand corner. So detail extractor has been applied to the entire image here. So if I click that on, off, on, off. So you can see how it applied it right without even opening up the NIK collection for the Color Effects Pro window. It just applied it because I have that as a favorite. So it applied the favorite directly to the Photoshop layer. Any questions on that? You guys can ask questions anytime you want. I don't know if Mike's got you set to unmute yourselves, or
they're all unmuted.
Okay, so
one of the issues might be the size of your image that's slowing it down with Zoom. I've had that issue before, so.
Yeah, I just noticed that if I dragged around it, it loaded the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's all about. But it's beyond my pay grade, that's for sure. So, so I'm going to get rid of that layer. and show you something you can do here. I'm going to take the background and I'm going to just quickly, you can see I have a selection there. I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm going to just make a quick selection. Mike had a good class the other day on Tuesday on selections. And I think one of the ones he used was select subject here. So I'm just going to use that one real quick, make a quick selection. This is not going to be anything great, trust me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to actually copy that selection, make a new layer, and paste that in. So now I've got that selection in there. So if I was to right now go back and say, apply that detail extractor, it would make a composite of all this just like I did before. And I don't want to do that. I just want to make more detail on the people on that selection that I made and not on them. So I'm going to turn the eyeball off on the background layer. So now it's, when I go to NIK, when I go to detail extractor, it's going to still apply it within Photoshop, but it's not going to be able, it's not going to see the background until I let it see it after we're done here. So right now it's applying that detail extractor and apply just to them. And I can turn that on and off. So I created, copied that layer, made a new layer. So now when I turn this back on, the background didn't have the detail extraction put on it. So it's just how it was originally set up. So that, and I can again turn off the selection layer there that I applied the detail extraction. Okay, any questions on that? So you can isolate, that's one way of doing it. Okay, but we're going to isolate another way here too. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same image and I'm going to open up, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to change down here that wheel so that I apply the filter in NIK collection. Okay, and I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to say detail extractor. So now when I do the detail extractor over here, it's because that was my last filter used, that's in the right-hand side here, okay? So I'm going to really make this bad. I'm gonna really increase the detail, make it really ugly, okay? So let's just look at the whole image here. So it applied it to the entire image here. But just a reminder, in NIK collection, you can use these control points to isolate. I used a minus control point on this green background here, and I'm going to hold down my option key and hold down my option. Wait a minute, wrong key. Okay, let me make that smaller first. And holding down my option key, I can drag and duplicate that control point, but it's not doing it. We have a glitch here. Oh, that's weird. Okay, normally, and we'll come back to this, I don't know what's happening here, but normally you can hold down your option key and drag and drop your control point, and it will apply another one, and it will duplicate and apply another control point. For some reason, it's not doing it. Try it again here. Nope, not doing it. Okay. Well, it did leave one over here. Maybe it's the Zoom thing, Mike. So anyway, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to apply out of the filter library another filter on here just to make it more visible. And I'm going to apply paper toner. But what I did was I did not hold down my add filter button over here. So what it did is it replaced that detail extractor filter. So if you want to not have that happen, and you can go back just like in, oh, I know what's happening here. I'm on a different keypad. That's what happened. I've got two computers going here. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to back up. Again, I'm going to click on add a minus filter. So a minus filter basically makes the effect not apply to the area that you drop it on. So I dropped it there. I can increase the size of it, covers more. So what it's now, it's looking at the color, the contrast, adjacent pixels, things like that within this circle of influence area here. See that circle change size? I can make that circle smaller. And what I usually do on something like this, where I do want it over here, but I don't want it here, is I'll make this size right about like that. And then I can just drop more of these by holding my Option key and dropping them like that. Now that I'm on the right keypad, it's adding that. Each time it measures the color, the texture, adjacent pixels, and things like that. Any questions on that? Okay, so now I've basically done the same thing that I had before when I did the selection of these people, but I did it within NIK here. So I can make my selection apply here, but not here. And if you want to make sure that, you can add a plus, and looks like it did a little crossover into him, so it did change that. I'm going to hold down the Option key and drag some of these plus ones on her hair, and things like that. Question? Okay, so now I'm going to say add filter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this paper filter, paper toner. So I click that button. So I've got empty filter here over here. So I'm going to click on paper toner, and it adds it there. Now what I could have done is I could have taken this one here in detail extractor. I could have come over here and said, copy the control points. Everybody see that? Copy control points. So all those control points, all those minus and plus ones that I did, I want to put those same control points in paper toner. So the way I do that is I open up paper toner, and open up this little window and say, well, come on, stay open. Okay, didn't paste it. I'm sorry. Copy control points. I'm going to put it on here, paper toner. I'm going to, well, another glitch, okay? I got to figure that out. However, what I can do is I can just come in here and start doing these negative control points because I don't want paper toner on their face, and drop those on there with the option, holding the option, dragging and dropping. Okay, so that kind of gets the idea there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say okay. And what it's doing, it's applying that without putting, using the brush. So it applied what I just did there. So then I go, okay, yeah, I don't want that. So I'm going to delete that layer. And then later on I say, wait a minute, I did want that. So what can I do? I did want that after all. So I can come up here and say, last edit. So what it's, I didn't save the recipe. So if I click on last edit, it's going to open up everything I just did, including the control points.
Ooh.
Questions?
Ah,
Pretty cool, huh?
pretty cool. I didn't know that.
I got an offer, Michael. So now now that I'm back in here, I say, yeah, I want to do this on a whole bunch of images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the recipe over here. I can save the recipe, and I'm going to say PS party. And I'm going to save that as a recipe. Click OK. And then it loads it over here in my recipes. These are alphabetical. So if I come down here to right here, Photoshop Party. So what I can do is I can also save this recipe as a favorite by clicking a star down here. What's that doing? Hold on. There's a little star, and if you click on it, okay, whatever it's doing here. Oh, I see. So I've saved this now as a recipe, and I put a little star there, and I don't know why it's giving me this warning window. Let's do another star. No. Okay, so something's not working exactly how I thought here. However, the point is I'm going to say, okay, go back to my image in Photoshop. So there it is, right at the top here. And it's called PS Party. That was the name of the recipe that I put on there. So it actually loads in the name of the layer for you, which is pretty cool when you name it after a recipe. So now, if I, hold on. I have a very touchy trackpad. It's like if I breathe on it, it clicks. And I don't know, it's a big problem that Apple has with their trackpads. I don't know if any of you use those, but I wouldn't recommend getting one. I've had too many issues with it. So this trackpad is now telling me, let's see. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drag this below that and turn this back on. So now there's my detail extractor that I originally had. It's got a different color background. So there's a lot of ways you can play here. That's the point. If you can, you know, just go in and experiment, try different things. Say, what if I tried this? You know, not that you could, but you know, not that you would, but you could do it. So let's do something different here. So now I'm going to show you something. Any questions on last edit and on the recipes? No questions? Come on, you guys got to ask questions.
If you click on the word recipes, does that show the recipes?
Yes, if you click on the word recipes, the recipes will come up.
Okay.
Like that.
There we go.
And you got last edit. Okay. And this goes the same with, like I said, with Define. You can have recipes in there. Define is the noise reduction. By Vesa, you can have your last edit in there, things like that. So, someone trying to say something? Nope. So anyway, those are available. So what we can do here is we can go to Silver Effects, which is the black and white conversion. I'm not going to go into all the different things you can do in here, but so I'll just leave it pretty much the default and click OK on that. There's the black and white version. Of course, you could always drag this up above, I'm sorry, or this below. Then you've got your color over a black and white background. That's another thing you can do. Okay, so let's go into another really cool thing here. And this is another edition. This is when I said it's worth the 59 bucks. Prior to this version of the NIK collection, they had a product over here. I'll show you on the filter menu, the layer here. In the filter menu, they had Viewpoint. And Viewpoint is the same exact thing as this new effect. And it was a separate product. It's probably 60 bucks on its own or more. But now they've got perspective effects included in the NIK collection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the first of, well, here's a pretty cool photo. Anyway, perspective effects is for architectural type images. You can also use it on portraits, and I'll show you that in a minute too. So perspective effects, You can see this building is badly distorted. I stood at the bottom and tilted up, and it's a horrible image. So what you can do is you can go to distortion here, and what's going to happen is it's going to give me this warning, and it says, I don't have the information for this combination of camera and lens loaded. So it's like to be downloaded. So I'm going to click download. It comes in pretty quickly. So now the auto, there's a little slide switch here. I can click that on and off. That's off, and that's on. And click auto. And it did some things for that particular camera lens and camera body to correct what it could. But this is really bad at this angle here. And I don't know that we're going to be able to correct this one given that I do not have enough empty space on either side of this building. But let's try some stuff here. So first under perspective, I'm going to click auto. So I try to change a little bit there. But you also can isolate either verticals or horizontals by themselves or have them together. For auto, that's probably pretty good. What I might do here is under perspective is I can click on this one here, and it gives me these two things that I can drag. And as you drag, you see that it magnifies. So I'm going to drag on this edge here. Actually, I'm going to use the drain pipe. So I'm going to grab the drain pipe on the left side, grab the drain pipe on the left side down here further, so it has more to work with. And as you drag, it's pretty hard to kind of, like I'm using a trackpad here with my finger on it, so it's kind of hard to make it work right. But if you drag and hold the shift key at the same time, you can be more precise in where you drop this little X. So I'm going to drop that one there. And I need another line here that's going to be straight. So I'm going to take this one here, and let's put it at the top of this window here. And let's put it at the bottom of the window here, right on the corner. Holding the shift key, I'm being more precise. So now you can see these lines are all messed up. So what I'm going to do is hit. Oh, that didn't work. Sorry. I messed up. I messed up. I'm just going to do this really quick now. So I'm putting the lines right there on the edge of the window. What I meant to do down here was hit preview. So I hit preview, and look what it did. But you can see where it's cropping off the building. So like I said, I didn't have enough of the building area around the building to correct, but you can see how good it does on getting the line straight on here. So then you click apply, then you hit save, and it goes back to your original image. But it's way cropped because I had automatic crop on within perspective control. Let's try another image here. Here's a church. This is in some little town in the middle of nowhere in Utah, I believe it was. So I'm going to hit perspective effects here. And you can see this one is badly distorted too. Look how everything's going into the center. I think I had a 14mm lens on here when I did this. And I was in a hurry, and I just got onto a snapshot. So I didn't take the time to do this correctly, apparently. So again, I'm going to hit on auto, see what happens here. So now it's got the module, because I use the same lens. You can see on auto, it has that same lens, the 14-24, and the same camera, the D700. This was taken a few years ago. But so it kind of did a sort of okay job, but that's not what we want. So I'm going to hit perspective auto again, see what happens on that. It still doesn't look right, does it? Okay, so I'm going to click on auto. And this one here is pretty cool. You've got over here on the right, you've got 8 points that you can do verticals and horizontals. So I can go down here, for instance, to this step and do my horizontal there. And I can do another horizontal, let's say at the top of the church here, because I want that to be straight. Okay, and then verticals, side of the church here. This is really cool. It's a little bit tedious to set up. Takes longer than just hitting the auto, but like I said, the auto doesn't always work. So, okay, there. And then let's go over to here and here. So I've got my 8 points. Okay, so now when I click preview, it does that. But look at all this that it eliminated here in order to get this. That's why when you do these architectural shots that you know you don't have the correct lens, which would be a tilt shift type lens typically. If you don't have the right lens, make sure that you have a lot of space around the side so that you can correct it later in perspective control like this. So I'm going to hit apply on that. Click save. It came out pretty good. Questions?
Larry, I have a question. I know you've used this software for years, so it's probably what you're most comfortable with. Do you use this for perspective change instead of transform in Lightroom or geometry now in Camera Raw because it's better, or do you just know it better? Because I do a lot of transforming with Camera Raw and Lightroom.
Yeah, I do too in Camera Raw. I typically don't use Lightroom any longer. I don't like it, but just a personal preference. The
Do you think this is better though than the Camera Raw geometry, or it's just different process?
I really don't know, but I do know that the DxO has been around a long time as the go-to for cameras and lens recommendations as far as testing and things like that. So I'm sure that they've done a lot of research in this as far as correcting images. I don't know if they sell those algorithms or whatever they are to Adobe, which they then incorporate into Camera Raw and Lightroom, and so they're using the same things or not. I do know that in Camera Raw and Lightroom, sometimes the camera lens and body combination are not there, and you have to load in your own to do that, or do it kind of drag and stuff. But again, let's do another one in perspective control here.
Yeah, I was just wondering if because now I want to try this in NIK and compare them and see if one does a better job than the other.
I really don't know, and when you're moving pixels around and stuff, it's like filling in and eliminating stuff. So if you're going to do pixel peeping and get down there really close, one of them might do more damage to the image than others. I don't know. This is
Okay.
Those are good questions though. I like that. So here we've got the same thing. I'm going to click on auto here. It's not letting me do it. It is available to correct this image. I don't know why not. So that means I got to do it something else here. So I click on perspective on automatic. Yeah, it's not right, is it? So once again, you can either use the verticals, the horizontals, the 4-way, or probably the best one is this 8-1 here, but like, you know, it takes a while to set those up. So anyway, back on auto. And you can also do the manual. When I was talking about if you don't have the module loaded, you can manually drag this around and correct that way. What you can do is you can turn on the grid here up in the upper left-hand corner. So you've got these grid lines as far as dragging these little things. But like I said, I'm using a trackpad. It's kind of hard to do. Using maybe a pen tablet would be easier. But if you drag this around, you can kind of do some self-correcting that way. You can change the left and right. You can change the height and volume ratios. So you can make an image pretty much what you want. But like I said, I don't know how much damage one or the other, whether this or within Adobe, or which one does more damage or not. But I'm just going to click save on that. So what has happened here is I've done this on my background layer. That's not something that I like to do. So I normally do it on a separate layer. So if I don't like it, I can just dump the layer. So any questions on that? I'm not seeing any hands. Okay. So let's do another image. And you saw this one earlier. You're probably wondering what the heck's going on here. I was actually at a week-long school to be an authorized standby person for movie sets. So they did a lot of different things. They had all these stunt people there doing things for us. One of them was the Burning Man guy. And it was really interesting how they did this. You see this in movies all the time. You know, some guy and you really can never see the face, and you can't see the face because this happens and he eventually becomes engulfed in flames. But the way they did this, he has multi-layers of clothing and heat protection, Nomex type material shirts like the race car drivers wear and stuff like that. And then they, light him on fire. They put this gel stuff on him that they light on fire. It's pretty scary. So let's edit this image real quickly. And that wasn't supposed to happen. Hold on. Trackpad issue. Close define. Okay. So I'm going to use Color Effects Pro. So I'm just going to go right to where it opens up the entire image right in Color Effects Pro. And I'm just going to do a quick edit on this just to show you how to, things that I typically do. I typically don't use recipes, and that's what's open up here in the upper left-hand corner. I usually use just the filter library. I usually click it on all. And the ones that I have as favorites, which I was talking about earlier, with the yellow star here, you can make anything a favorite. Just, just click on the star, and then it ends up in your favorites list on that NIK selection window. Right now, detail extractor is on here. I'm not going to have that on. So what I'm going to do is I don't like, I'll crop it later, but I usually find that it's better to crop after you do your effects in NIK, because if you crop before and then do your effects in your cropped version, what happens is you decide to crop it larger later, it's messed up. The effect isn't applied to the area that you did not have the crop applied within. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? So what's happening here is I'm going through these different ones, and I'm just clicking on them to see what I like. I might use detail extractor. One that I always use is this darken, light, and center, and we've talked about this before. So I'm going to click that one. Darken, light, and center. You can move your center point with place center here. Get a little crosshairs. I want I want this guy to be the center of attention here. I can change the luminosity of that center by adjusting this one here. So it's making him brighter or darker. Let's bring him up about 47%. The border is the whole area around him. And this is one of the reasons why I was telling you, make your crop before, but in this instance, you would want to apply your dark and light center post crop, because this way it's, let me, hold on a second here. This controls the center size, and then you can also, all of these filters have an opacity setting, and you can change the opacity by dragging this from 100 down to 0 there, okay? So in this particular instance, like I said, if I apply this one dark and light center here and click OK, it's going to apply it to that image. Then I say, wait a minute, I just want to crop on this guy here. So I bring up my crop tool, and I bring it in, and just on him, eliminate the guys on the sides and stuff. Click OK. My dark and light center, he's still, because he was the center, he was lightened, but the border is not lightened. So what you got to do is you got to make a new stamped version, and then go back to dark and light center. I'm not going to do last edit, but I will go right here, open up color effects. Because dark and light center was the last filter I used, that's what will be on the right hand side here. There's dark and light center. So now it applied it to my crop version. Still got him in the center, but you can see the border luminosity. I've got it all the way down. But any questions on that?
It's great for vignetting.
Yes, it's subtle enough, and you can change the size of that center, and well, you can change the luminosity of the border too. So it's very good to do that for all images that you put in image competition, because that's a typical thing that the judges will gig you on, that they say, well, you need to vignette the sides a little. So any questions? This is the question and answer time. Gotta be questions. Okay.
I don't hear any questions coming out.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's still
You're
on.
still awake, right?
Maybe.
Okay, what else would you like to see?
They can hear us.
I know Norman wants to see everything.
You want to show Silver Effects Pro a couple of the different filters in that?
They can see and hear us.
Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so do Silver Effects on this one. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate the background. I haven't been doing that, but now I'm going to duplicate the background. So I've got 2 layers here, and I'm going to open up Silver Effects by closing that, going down here. And Silver Effects, like I said, it's one of those ones that has the recipes and the last edit. So I'm not going to use those. I'm just going to open it up. It's going to put the image in the entire, all the available presets and everything is here. So I typically start out with the top one here, the neutral. You can go down, you can try these others. If you highlight this neutral window and use your down arrow, it will actually go to the different ones, so you can see your different starting points. And what's happening is it's changing over on the right side here. Watch over here when I go down. It changes where those settings are. And that's what makes these filters different. That one looks pretty cool. What's that one? High structure, harsh. Here's high structure, smooth. So let's start with this one. So over here, you've got your brightness control, which is your general brightness of the whole image. I'm going to actually click that so it goes back to center. You've got highlights. You can control the brightness of your highlights. I'm going to tone that down a bit so I can bring out more of those flames. See the contrast and the flames change when I drop that. Midtones, you can bring that up or bring that down too. Bring more of those flames, make them look even more dramatic. Shadows, same thing. Drop that down. Then you got your regular contrast things for amplify the whites, blacks, and soft contrast. And then structure. So that structure on the midtones already up here, but I'm going to even make it more to bring those flames out. And then you've got fine structure for overall. You can also change, well, this one's got a little bit different for the control points, but I'm not going to go into that. It's a little more complicated. You've got your color filters, just like in old black and white film days, where you can apply different filters. Don't like the red.
Hey,
Blue.
Larry, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
This is John Powers. Can you capture like the car itself and you just want to do an effect on the flames? Can you just work on part of the image?
Yes. Well, I wasn't going to go into the control points, but I can now. I just clicked on control points here. I'm going to try it again. Control points. Put a control point on the car, and then down here, they've got a thing that's called SC, which is selective colorization. And if I move that up, it starts bringing back the color in the car there, which is mostly a black car anyway. But I'm going to hold down my Option key and drag and drop that in different places. It's bringing back the blue tones in the paint in the car. I can bring back the concrete here. I can bring back these other vehicles back here. So it's selectively applying that. Now, if I didn't want that on the flames, which is crossing over there a little bit, I can click on another control point and not do anything at all to it. If I click that on the flames and option and drop on those flames that are being affected by my initial control points. So it's bringing back the flames into black and white. Is that what you want, John?
Yeah, thanks. That's exactly what I was wondering.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or once again, I can take all those control points, delete them. And what I did was I just did on Mac Command All, and it says, do you want to really delete the control points? Yes. So I deleted them all, and I could do the control point in the flames and do the same thing, which is opposite what we did there. The selective control, I'm going to drag over so it's not affecting the flames. So that's the opposite of what I had just done. And I'm dropping this in different places to pick up the color, texture, tonality, and hue of those flames. So now everything else is black and white except the flames. Of course, you'd want to be more precise than I just did. Is that it, John?
Yep,
Okay.
right on the money, as usual.
So I'm going to do a select all. I'm going to delete that because I'm going to do this image as a global. And once again, back over here, I don't like any of these color filters on here. I don't think any of them are doing me any favors on the flames, the blue. So not at all. So I'm going to leave it as neutral here. I'm going to scroll down. And you've got your different film types here, which is pretty cool. You can change it here. Unfortunately, you can't arrow down and apply these different ones with your arrow keys. You have to actually scroll down with your cursor and drop it on each one of these to look at the different film effects. So let's just leave it on this one here, Ilford. That's Pan F plus 50. We'll just leave it there for now. You can also control the sensitivity of that filter as well as the grains per pixel. So if you want it real grainy, of course, you go to the left here, see how grainy it got. To the right is like, no grain. And then you've got soft and hard for the effect on the grain itself. So you've also got the sensitivity sliders. You can make it more sensitive to one color or another, which is similar to the global one up here. But this is more precise as far as picking out the yellow, red, greens, and that type of thing. So you've got levels and curves, which I don't do levels and curves in within the NIK filters. I do it with within Photoshop itself. The toning is pretty cool. So you've got a lot of options in toning. If you click on this, you got a drop down or pop up type of thing. You can make it a lot of different things here. Split tone, selenium, blue, cyanotype, coffee. I tend to use a lot of coffee 13. That's kind of what I go to when I do a black and white conversion. I use coffee 13 a lot. Copper could be pretty cool. Sepia and amber type. So those are available. Let's leave it here for this one. Then you can adjust the strength of that also. You can make it a lot stronger, make it real blue like that. We'll just leave it that for demonstration purposes. You can control the hue of that also and the balance. Down here you've got vignette. Vignette fall off lens 1. It does a very kind of subtle vignette. It's kind of nice. Or you can get really radical and go to black. You can also change the amount, how far it comes in, whether it's black or white, circle or rectangle, circle, rectangle, and the size. And you can place the center. So if I want to place the center on the wheel here, it changes things dramatically. Burn edges, I typically don't do this, but you can do that. And then image borders. There's a lot of different image borders here if you want to play with those, and each one has a control on it. I'll just go to 4 here and show you with this twirly down. You can change the size of that to where it's just on the edges or where it comes in quite a ways. You do the spread on that inner stroke thing as far as how far that is affected. That's 0, that's 100%. And then whether it's clean or rough. This is clean, which is not really that clean, or rough, which is a lot rougher. Okay. And I'm going to click OK, and our image is going to go back into Photoshop. And there it is, and you can change in Photoshop, you can change the blend mode on that, however you want. Make whatever weird image you want. It's up to you. Questions on that? Leave it normal. Change the opacity. Pretty cool.
Oh, Larry, thank you. I appreciate that.
Love it.
That's a fast way to go through an hour.
Yeah, there's so much to it, and like I've been playing in it for years, so I'm still I constantly discover new things, and it's just like I said, you just got to play in there and try to see what you like, what works for you, and get really weird or stay conventional on things, but personal choice. So
Way cool. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here today for episode number 35. Hopefully we don't have too many more of these. We get back to normal. Yeah.
whatever that is.
Whatever that is. Yeah. I forgot what normal was. But we will see you next Tuesday. I don't know what we're going to be doing next Tuesday yet, but we'll come up with something and something exciting. So tune in for next Tuesday, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Have a great
Thanks,
weekend.
Larry. Thanks,
Larry.
Michael.
All
Thanks, Larry.
righty.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Thank you, Michael. That was awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
All right.
You guys are awesome.
Cool. See you guys next week.
All right.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.